Dr. Cooke.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you
Okay,
perfectly.
great. Thank you. Sorry, I was having technical difficulties.
Not a problem. I was just saying, I noticed lately with Instagram Live, um, there's issues.
Oh no,
So,
that's okay. I go back to Twitter and LinkedIn, and they changed it to X, so now I don't know how to feel about that.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Everything is all over the place. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I usually tell other people, and another thing that I do, to give like a good 5 minutes to get through the whole technical aspect of this.
Okay, can you see me?
I can see you. Can you
Okay.
see me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So now we're waiting for Jaymie.
I'm here.
Um, oh, you're here. Okay,
Yeah.
well, why can't I see you?
I don't know, but I'm here. I can see both y'all.
Okay, you can see. Okay, because I know you could do three. So, ciao.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
in the room, so I'm not sure why you can't see me.
I can see you,
okay.
Jamie.
Okay, cool.
Oh, really? Okay, well, okay. As long as, okay. I just
I,
can't see you for whatever reason. So, okay. So I want to thank both of you for being here. Again, I wasn't supposed to be the facilitator because I had the flu, but then the other person got held up with stuff. So here you have it. So I'm happy the two of you decided to do this. This is called Heart to Heart series, and this is something me and the board wanted to do, and we wanted to just find a doctor, and we wanted to have a patient, you know. In this case, Jaymie is a patient advocate who is out there in the world to kind of have this conversation when it comes to like the wellness aspect of this particular cancer. So I'm just a facilitator, but I would like the two of you to bond a rapport based on what the questions are. Okay. So the first one would be, and I already read everybody's bio, so to kind of get that out the way. Okay. So what are some considerations a patient should think about by including some form of physical activity? And part of this question for Jaymie, I would like to know, what have you incorporated in your own day to day? Because I do know you do. You know, you have built that in to, your day to day. So,
Yeah, so I think for me, that was one of the key indicators that I was taking my life back a little bit when I got my diagnosis. I was diagnosed in 2018. Before my diagnosis, I had just started getting into kickboxing and I was really loving it. And I was doing it like every day, early in the morning to try and start my day off good. And when the diagnosis came, I had to stop because I had just all the health complications that come with a new diagnosis. And I had a one-sided Florex catheter installed on my left-hand side, which was facilitating lung drains every other day. So I wasn't able to do it. And so that became sort of a baseline for me where I was like, all right, I want to get back to my life as it was. And so as soon as I was like physically able, I got back into the gym and I started kickboxing again, catheter in place, still taking it slow, of course, but I tried to get back into it as soon as I could because it was something that was not only did I feel good when I was doing it, but it also kind of gave me motivation and helped me sort of take back my life. You know what I mean? Like sort of say that cancer can't take that from me. So I got back into kickboxing as soon as I could. After moving down here to Georgia, I found a gym that was similar. Like I couldn't find a good boxing gym down here. So I ended up getting into F45, which is a high intensity cardio gym down here. And now I'm about like 450 classes in at that gym. I go every single day practically. I mean, I do take a couple days off every now and then because I got to rest. but I go every day. And I try to incorporate that into my physical fitness every day. Cause it's, they say that you're supposed to have like, 45 minutes or somewhere around like 130 minutes of exercise a week or
150.
so. Yeah.
Hmm.
So for me, I mean, I do 45 minutes a day, and then I follow that up with a 2-mile walk with my dog every day. And that's just something that I do mostly because it's gotten me into a routine and a schedule. But it's gotten to a point, and I never thought I'd get to this point where like I feel off when I don't go to the gym. Like I never in my life thought I would get to be one of those people that's like, oh, I gotta get to the gym. Like I feel weird when I don't go. And that's just something that's new post-diagnosis for me.
Right.
Yeah, I don't I don't have much to add to that. I really appreciate Yolanda your inviting me out tonight to talk with everyone, and I really appreciate Jamie's perspective as a patient, and really highlighting that point of view of someone who's undergoing treatment and care in this space. I think you highlight two key things about fitness during treatment for, say, lung cancer. One is just the mental wellness. So, in order to um, fight any ailment, you have to be in a really good, positive mindset space, right? Because there's a care team, and yes, as a surgeon or as a clinician or as an oncologist, you're part of the care team, but the most important member of that care team is the patient themselves, and really being in that positive mindset and just seeing your joy and talking about you going every day for this physical fitness. That's like half the battle of being in that positive mindset. Then there's just the practical minds, the practical aspects of fitness. And oftentimes in lung cancer, we have to take out part of the lung to try to cure people of lung cancer. And so that means the rest of that lung really has to take over in providing that lung function. And so the more that we are active, that we are up and moving, that we're expanding our lungs, that really accelerates that recovery process and getting back to what we call our activities of daily living. And oftentimes I tell patients who may not be as physically fit and active, really, you talk about walking your dog, walking around the neighborhood once or twice a day. Um, um, if it's really cold, walking in the mall. If it's really hot, as it gets in our Sacramento area, walking in the mall as well. But really, we have a lot of rural patients who are walking on your property. So that kind of physical fitness, getting the blood flowing through the legs and the lungs developed, really helps the recovery from the lung cancer treatment process.
Wonderful. It's funny because you actually answered a third question that I had in terms of why it's important and all of that. So you kind of hit upon that. So let me add something else that wasn't scheduled. Why do you think a lot of people, especially with lung cancer, feel that they cannot do anything? Not everyone, obviously, but they cannot move forward with some type of wellness or physical activity. We already know that the lung capacity is a big issue, but I guess what, if any, do you tell your patients that okay, it's something that they should consider in a day to day?
Sure. I think perhaps, interesting to get Jamie's perspective, is that there's a fear that I might do something that might make it worse, that might make it grow faster or get bigger or not respond to treatment. And really, uh, anything that provides you that sort of joy or positive mindset, that is ideal. I really, my patients ask, well, can I swim or can I do this? Can I do that? And I said, of course, if you feel up to it, if you feel physically that you can do it, then yes, you should try to do it.
Okay. And Jamie, have you seen any of your fellow patient survivors be a little hesitant to do any type of wellness physical activity?
Not really. To be honest, I feel like most of the time, or at least the folks that I'm around, we all kind of have that same mindset where it's like it's more of a challenge to do it. You know what I mean? Like you want to do it because you want to challenge yourself to prove that you can actually do it. So a lot of the folks that I'm with and a lot of folks that I surround myself with are kind of that same thought process where it's like, you know what? I'm going to show folks that I can still do this because it is still possible. And a lot of times we get caught up in this idea of things you can't do because you have cancer. And so sometimes something as simple as just getting on the treadmill and running a little bit, or getting close to baseline before you got your diagnosis in fitness, means a lot. You know, something as simple as that kind of stuff can really mean the difference between, like the doctor said, between having that positive mindset and feeling, you know, depressed or sad, or, you know, like you want to give up on things because you can't do X, Y, and Z. So honestly, the people I think it probably is a personal choice for me as well to surround myself with people like that. But typically the folks that I'm with are of that same mindset where it's like the things I can take back from cancer, I'm going to take back. So if I can run my mile, I'm going to run my mile. If I can do this or I can do that, then I'm going to do it. It's mostly navigating the ins and outs of the side effects of the medication and how that plays a role in the fitness and stuff like that. That's the thing that I think is the consideration that most folks have when it's time to actually do workout or anything like that.
Right. So, okay, so we're in month December. So last month was Lung Cancer Awareness Month. Um, I don't know about you guys. I really haven't heard too much of a buzz, and I feel like that's the case every year. It is a struggle. I know we try to do things on our ends, but we're like a little bubble. We try. So, how should advocates help spread the word effectively about lung cancer awareness? And why do you think, or do you feel that this particular cancer just doesn't get enough eyes um, in regards to treatment advancement? I don't know, maybe there is certain treatment advancement that Dr. Moore can speak about.
You want me to answer that first, or you want to go first, Dr. Moore?
Yeah, why don't you go, Jamie?
Sure. So, the first part of your question of what patient advocates can do to raise awareness, and I've said this in a couple of conversation pieces now at this point: do something, do anything. I think that the silence is what kills us, and that's why we don't get the attention and the sort of funding and all the stuff that we need in this realm, is because a lot of people don't speak up about it. But there's also this idea of, you know, being this amazing public speaker or throwing some amazing event to be considered an advocate. And I think people get caught up in this idea that if it's not some grandiose thing, then I can't really call myself an advocate, when really it's not a one size fits all when it comes to advocacy. You do what you can do, you do what you're comfortable with, and you do what you feel, you know, moves the needle forward for you. And if everybody kind of adopts that same mindset, then I think that we would all have a lot more advocacy happening in and around the community. And I mean, I could dive off the into the rabbit hole about, you know, the smoking side of lung cancer and how, you know, the stigma with this disease has shamed the smoking side so much that they don't advocate because they have this guilt and this like, well, who am I to advocate when I smoked and now I have lung cancer? You know, I brought this on myself. So half of, or a big portion of the lung cancer community who are the folks that smoked and now have the, you know, the cancer itself, feel like they don't deserve to advocate or shouldn't be advocating because it's their fault, when in fact nobody deserves to have lung cancer regardless of your smoking history, regardless of your risk factors. So in terms of what an advocate can do, I always say just do what you feel comfortable with. And if it's something as simple as educating people that have misinformation, that's advocacy. You know, if someone says, oh, you know, when I tell people that I have lung cancer and they say, oh, but you didn't smoke, the first thing I say is, I'm like, that's not correct. I'm like, the only thing you need to get lung cancer is lungs. And that's misinformation to think that because I didn't smoke, I shouldn't have lung cancer. That's advocacy. Something as simple as just Educating people who have wrong information is advocacy, or something as grandiose as a huge event can be advocacy, but it's not a one size fits all approach. I think as long as everybody's doing something, then I think that we move the needle forward, but it's the silence that kills us. It's the non-activity and the non-advocating that is what does us the major disservice.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. First of all, you all could call me David, so that's perfectly
Okay.
fine. And second, I think that's well said. So, all you need to get lung cancer are lungs. And I think there's aspects to this cancer that doesn't get the same attention as other cancers. One is we have a ribbon, but most people don't know the color of the ribbon, but everyone knows the color of the breast cancer ribbon, and everyone knows the color of the AIDS ribbon. But more people die in the United States from lung cancer than colon, breast cancer, and prostate cancer combined. More women die from lung cancer than breast cancer. Um, and what we found in the last, say, 10 years, we've actually seen death from lung cancer fall in the last 10 years. And so survival has increased. And the reason is because it's not a death sentence to have lung cancer. And we have so many innovations in this space, but it's just not, we need more people to benefit from these innovations. So for instance, we have lung cancer screening for people who are at highest risk for developing lung cancer. Those are former smokers. In this country, of all the women who are eligible for breast cancer screening, 70% of women in the United States get breast cancer screening. However, in the United States, less than 5% of people eligible for lung cancer screening actually get screened, right? So if you screen all the individuals who are eligible for lung cancer screening in this country, you would save more lives than people who are saved by the flu shot in this country. And so that's information that we just don't know about. When you
Wow.
look at Black people and lung cancer screening, more Black people die from lung cancer than their white counterparts. Less Black people are screened for lung cancer than their white counterparts. But when you look at Black people who are screened for lung cancer, their survival rate is the same as their white counterparts. So the act of screening just eliminates disparities right there. When you look at people in such as Jaymie's case who were never smokers, all you need are lung cancer, all you need to get lung cancer are lungs. For people who are never smokers, there are multiple different targeted therapies. So therapies that target gene mutations in the cancer. There's what's called immunotherapy, medications that boost the immune system to fight cancer. In order to do many of those therapies, you have to undergo molecular testing of your tumor, or you participate in a clinical trial. And we see that Black Americans are less likely to get their tumor molecularly tested and less likely to participate in clinical trials. So what's the solution to that? I believe in patient activation. So patients being sort of the quarterback, and all that entails is asking your doctor, should my tumor get tested? Is there a clinical trial available to me? And those basic questions can help save lives, I think.
It's interesting because as you say that, I think of my mom who was diagnosed. She was an on and off again smoker, through her life, and how quickly the disease kind of just took over, you know. Now we're talking about a woman who went to her doctor's appointments, you know, had a conversation with her doctor about this, that, and the other. Um, okay, oh, Miss Lawson, maybe you should stop smoking. They would have those types of conversations. So just the idea of perhaps not only having that conversation, but actually getting tested to see if there is an issue, I think may have made a huge difference. So would you say, I don't know if this is like a biomarker conversation, is this relatively new in terms of to test a little further to see if you're in that particular category?
So two things. One, lung cancer screening. That's been approved by Medicare and Medicaid services since 2012, and we're still less than 6% nationally. The American Lung Association interviewed folks who would have been eligible for screening but didn't get screened, and they asked them, why didn't you get screened? And the most prevalent answer was, my doctor never told me about it. And so, that's where, programs such as this one with May's Breath helps educate ourselves to go to our physicians and say, hey, what about me? What about screening? Regards to molecular testing, there are FDA approvals for different drugs, both that have been available in the advanced stage space for years, but now is being available in the early stage space. And that's happening rapidly, almost a new FDA approval almost every 6 months. And so that's relatively new in terms of the full scope of lung cancer care. And again, programs such as this will help educate everyone.
Yeah, I know if I hadn't had biomarker testing done, I wouldn't be here today. Because my cancer at stage 4 had already generated fluid and I had a couple of outlying tumors and stuff like that. They told me chemo and radiation would not have done anything for me. So without molecular testing and biomarker testing, I wouldn't be here today. And so like Dr. Moore said, I'm on a targeted therapy. So I take that medication every day. And that's why I can sit here and talk to you guys and be able to do the things that I do. Had I got this diagnosis 10 years ago, it would be a totally different story. You know what I mean? Like a lot of this stuff was not available back then. So science is making leaps and bounds in the lung cancer realm, but there's still a lot more work to do and a lot more funding and awareness that's needed.
So, Jaymie, you obviously had a care team of physicians that dotted the I's and crossed the T's.
Mm-hmm.
And
The
not
second set.
everyone, not everyone has that. So here's a good example. There have been in my space, in my world, we go to these scientific meetings and we see the clinical trial results for these different miracle drugs in the lung cancer space. And we get really excited about the survival curve. So these are people who are living without having the cancer come back or get worse. And the curves are very exciting for the drug that's in question. But what we don't get excited for, which we should be, is that with a drug, there's a placebo, right? You get randomized to drug or randomized to something that's not the drug, sugar pill or saline or what have you. And then there's the patients who are getting randomized to placebo, their survival is much higher than what's nationally reported. So the actual participation in that clinical trial gives a survival advantage. Why is that? Because the patients who are getting placebo, they're not getting the drug, they're getting standard of care. And the problem in our country is that many people aren't getting standard of care. So I would offer someone who is young, who has a tumor, who's developed lung cancer, they should get their tumor molecularly tested. That is standard of care. And if they're not getting standard of care. So kudos to our physicians who are dotting the I's and crossing the T's. But really, I would advocate that we need to advocate for ourselves. Have you tested my tumor on a molecular basis? Should I get screened for lung cancer? These are things that oftentimes we have to advocate for ourselves in our current environment.
I think everything that you said is ditto to all of that. Unfortunately, it's that problem. You have a mixture of patients. Okay, you're going to have those that may do their due diligence to want to know more about the disease, and then you have those who kind of just go with the flow. Oh, okay, I didn't know I was supposed to ask about this testing or this particular drug. So it can be problematic in terms of that advocacy, because I usually say advocacy also isn't just, I don't know, like whatever. Like advocacy can be simple as having a conversation with your doctor. You know, you may not have to be on a platform to speak about your experience. It can just be that simple. You said I have lung cancer. Okay, well, what type of lung cancer? Like for my mother, I don't think we even knew exactly what stage. Obviously, it was advanced, you know. Um, so it's so many wiggle room questions with things, and you also have to know who the patient is to ask. And some don't even know how to go about asking, you
Mhm.
know. So as we kind of wrap this up, is there something that both of you would like to share in terms of what you would like to see more done? I guess we kind of hit upon that, but how could the audience who sees this later or who's on here now, what would you like them to know or what would you like them to do in terms of bringing about more awareness?
I would say if for anybody watching right now who's looking to get involved or get active with lung cancer in whatever realm that is, get to know the resources that are out here. There are a lot of organizations that need boots on the ground, that need members, that need people who are going to show up to events and you know work with them with different events and campaigns and things like that. So there's a lot of ways that you can get involved, but I think at the very least educating people on you know the stigma behind this disease and the need that we have to raise awareness for the fact that this is the #1 cancer killer in the United States of men and women. I think if we can continue to push that and make sure that that narrative is the one that leads and not the one about you know smoking, I think once we start to do that, the lung cancer community can start to come together as a whole, and we can start to see a lot more leaps and bounds get made in the way of you know funding and research, science, and awareness. But as long as we continue to remain stigmatized and we remain silent, we're going to remain where we are. You know, so we need to keep on moving the needle forward, and that is only done through advocacy and through grassroots efforts like this.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think also just becoming educated on the subject. So, obviously Maze Breath and your website is an excellent resource. American Lung Association on lung.org is a wonderful site. Cancer.gov, which is our National Cancer Institute's website, is really good patient centered information. The American Lung Association has different little algorithms you could put your information to, and it can provide you with resources. And our UC Davis Comprehensive Cancer Center website has also incredible information on the lung cancer space and available clinical trials. And so those are some trusted resources to get educated, and then asking questions when you're with your provider. There is no question that is too simple. And what I find is that I keep asking my patients, what other questions do you have? What other questions do you have? And then sometimes it's hard to have questions on the spot. And I said, you know what? Go home, talk to your family, write down questions, and then come back or call us, and then we'll answer those as well.
That's good.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate both of you, David and Jaymie, to take time to help continue this conversation. It's very important. And for those listening, let's try to do our part as pushing that needle because just as Jaymie says, if we're silent, then we're not going to get that boost, that is needed. So with our little boots, we'll do the best that we can on this end, you know. But thank you guys so much for taking a part of your time today to talk with me. And for those who wish to see the replay, it'll be up on YouTube in a couple of days. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you guys. I really
Thank
Thank you for
you.
the
appreciate
invite. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
it. Don't even apologize. It's fine.
All right. Thank you,
Have a
Jaymie.
good
Really
night.
appreciate your story.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too.